Hello and welcome. I hope you are having a fantastic day. I am Dylan. I like to think of myself as a wizard. I often space out whilst I'm reading books, but I still like to think I pay enough attention to tell you about those books that I've read and to recommend some for you. So, welcome to my monthly wrap up, and let's take a look at what I read, what I bought, and what I'm going to be reading in the next month. And now let's dive in to what I've been reading. Now, the first book I finished in February was The Blade Itself by Joe Abercrombie. I rated this a 5 out of 5, and I had a great time getting to know this world, the characters, and Joe Abercrombie as a writer. So, for me, the writing style I gelled with straight away. I really found the wit, the dark humor just perfect for my enjoyment. The characters were super enjoyable to hang out with. The plot was low in this book. There wasn't too much going on, but just more following the characters in their life and seeing things set up for the next book in the series. But spending time with these characters was a blast. Glockter and Giselle were my favourites by far. So their storylines were definitely the ones I was most interested in. But being such a fantastic introduction to a new author, this had to be a 5 out of 5. I was just so impressed. I can see Joe Abercrombie's inspiration from Game of Thrones, but he very much writes his own books. The writing style, the wit, very fun. The political intrigue, excellent. And yeah, great book. Not too much to say about it because not too much goes on in it. The next two books I read this month were The Shadow Rising and The Fires of Heaven, books 4 and 5 of The Wheel of Time. And I gave both of these a 4 out of 5. So these books are great, they're enjoyable, but I'm getting a bit overwhelmed. Books 1 to 3 are still massive books with a massive scope and a lot of characters to follow. But from book 4 onwards, this series is unhinged. So I'm on book 6, The Lord of Chaos, at the moment. So I'll talk about all these three together because The Wheel of Time isn't just like 14 books. It's, from what I feel like from the books I've read so far, it's just one massive book. It's all just meant to flow together, one book to the next. You're spending every single minute with these characters, and you just always with them. There's no big time jumps or anything like that. So you live their lives with them, and the scope of these series is insane. So book 4, from there on, things just got crazy and out of hand with the amount of POVs, the amount of characters and storylines we have to follow, the amount of land we're covering. I'm overwhelmed reading this series. Like, there's so much going on. I'm definitely not taking it all in, not understanding enough. And I can see why this series is so well loved and gets so many rereads. And due to the amount of time I've spent with these characters, I am super invested in them. But this series also is just overwhelming me with its size. And the way Robert Jordan writes his female characters, I don't know if there's a single female character I really like that much. They are all very frustrating. The Aes Sedai, like the bureaucracy is just so frustrating. Like, they just can't work together. So like Nynaeve, Egwene, Elaine, they all have strong points by themselves, but they just can't work together. And I just like it when people can get along and communicate well and work together. So I'm invested in the characters. My frustration is coming from my investment in them and wanting things to happen, good things to happen for them. But oh, they're frustrating and hard to cheer for. And I just wish that one of the females was written to have people around her that were understanding, and she understood them and they understood each other, and things got on smoothly. But unfortunately, that's not the case. But I'm excited to continue reading this. I'm fully invested in all these characters. I want to see what happens to them. I want good things to happen for them, and I'm excited to see what this story is going to be. I'm 6 books in. I still got 8 to go, and yeah, excited. I'm invested. I'm excited. The next 2 books I read were Prince of Thorns and King of Thorns by Mark Lawrence, and I rated them a 3.75 and a 4.25 out of 5 respectively. And I loved these 2 books. They were a breath of fresh air. They were short, 10 to 15 hour audio books, one singular POV, a young man, morally black, and just on his rise to power. The books go Prince of Thorns, King of Thorns, Emperor of Thorns. So you can see he's going to rise up each book. Each book is about 4 years apart from the last. And in each book, to really show the character development, we get flashbacks of the previous 4 years to see how this person has grown and prepared himself to take that next jump. It's dark, it's gritty, it's funny, it's simple. A breath of fresh air. Thank you, Mark Lawrence. I would definitely be continuing to read your books. I can't wait to finish off this series of Emperor of Thorns. Also, I forgot to mention, it's set in a post-apocalyptic Europe, which is just nice. Then I read Godkiller by Hannah Kaner. I rated this one a 4 out of 5, and this one was another breath of fresh air. This one felt super fresh, super creative, very modern book. So we've set in a world where gods can rise up whenever a human has a need or a desire or a want for something, and they're willing to sacrifice for it. And we follow 4 main POVs. We follow a god, we follow a young girl who needs help from someone more versed in the world of gods. We follow a Godkiller, someone who lost everything to the gods as a kid and now is a Godkiller themselves, kind of like a witcher, just going around getting commissions, killing gods that are rising up, causing trouble. And then we also follow a retired knight as he's called back into service to serve his king once again. Fresh, diverse characters, super fast paced. It's a much shorter fantasy book, like 300, 400 pages. Very nice. Thank you, Hannah Kaner, so much. I'm going to continue this series and read Sunbringer very soon. I also have a full-length review for this up on my channel if you want to see my full thoughts on it. Then today, I finished Before They Are Hanged by Joe Abercrombie. I had a really good time with this book. I gave it a 4 out of 5, so I didn't rate it as high as I did The Blade itself. And that's might be a bit of an unpopular opinion. I found that the high points of Before They Were Hanged were much higher than the high points of The Blade itself, but there was a lot of dragging in this book and a lot of storyline that I didn't enjoy as much. So I'm just going to say what I did and didn't enjoy. There shouldn't be any spoilers in this, but there's just a little bit of a spoiler in what each character is doing plot-wise. So if you are worried about spoilers, you can click along to the next section. Everything will be timestamped down below. I found everything to do with Godkiller and his presence in the siege to be fantastic. Godkiller is my favorite character and his storyline was absolutely fantastic. So I'm happy with everything that happened there. Then my next favorite character to follow is Giselle. And because he was on a quest with 2 other POV characters, we didn't get as many Giselle POVs as I would have liked. And I found the other 2 POVs of him not that interesting. And also found the quest that those 3 characters were on to be so boring. I spent the whole time in this book going on a journey to one place. That's just, it's a trilogy and you're spending a whole book on one journey. For me, that felt to be a waste. I hope that it's all rectified in the next book because I love those 3 characters, but the whole journey was a bit of a bore for me in this book. I know things happened on the journey, but I wasn't there for it. And then the other 2 POVs, Dogman, I do like him, and I like what they were doing up in the north and west. I loved his storyline and his plot, but he's not a good person, and he's so hard to cheer for with his anger. So I gave the book a 4 out of 5. The high points were better. The Godkiller, Giselle, Dogman, what West was doing, their plots was great, but having 3 POVs off on a quest that I didn't enjoy really brought the book down for me. I think this is definitely an unpopular opinion. I think much more people would rate this a 5 out of 5 than a 4 out of 5, but that was just me. Alright, so that's everything I read last month. Now, what did I get? I got 2 new books last month. I got them together. I just had an Amazon gift card and I got the first 2 books that came to mind. So I got The Children of Gods and Fighting Men by Shauna Lawless, just because I saw her do a interview on Mike's book reviews this month, and the 2 authors she was with, I definitely liked their books. So I was like, you know what, she's probably cool. I need to check out her books. And I saw someone on my TikTok recommend it, and I'm like, all right, that's it. I'm getting it. I'm sold. I've got to get my hands on it. The guy who follows me on TikTok, we've been going back and forth in the comments for quite a few months. We've got very similar tastes, so I believe in him that this is a good one. And then the other book I got was The Will of the Many by James Islington. He's an Aussie, so I wanted to check him out. And it's easy to get one book than his whole other trilogy. I don't know when I'm going to get a chance to read it, but it's a very pretty book. It was on sale. I just had to get my hands on it. So they're the two books I got. And now, what are the books that I'm going to read in March? Well, as you know, I'm reading The Lord of Chaos, book 6 of The Wheel of Time, and I'm just doing my best to get through The Wheel of Time. It's so expansive, it's crazy. The other book I'm currently reading right now is The Empire of the Vampire by Jay Kristoff. I'm just doing this on audio. I've got my physical book lent out to a friend at the moment, and this is just to get me ready for Empire of the Damned, which is coming up today or something, or very close to today, so I'm all ready for that, and I'm very excited. I loved reading it the first time, and I'm loving it even more the second time. Just Gabriel, just recounting his tales in a jail cell to a vampire is just excellent. Just his stories growing up in a warrior sect, fighting against vampires, and how the land has just fallen. The gods feel like they've abandoned this earth, and we're just like, how is Gabriel in this jail cell telling his stories going to get to a place where he can save the world? I don't know, but I'm here for it. Epic, dark, gritty, emo vibes, superb, wacky prose, so much slang. I'm there for it all day long. Jay Kristoff, you're my man. Now, the other books I'm going to be reading this month, I'm going to be starting my Elric Saga journey. I am so excited. I just finished reading, before I started making this video, the first chapter of Elric of Mellenbohr, the first book of the series. This book's got about 4 books in it. These lovely editions I've got are absolutely stunning. They've got all of Eric's stories written by Michael Moorcock in them, and I've heard good things. It's dark, epic fantasy. It inspired so many of the books and the authors that I love, and I'm there for it. The first chapter hooked me in straight away, so I'm here for it. The other book I plan to do a physical read of is Emperor of Silence by Christopher Rocchio. I'm just ready for a little bit of break from fantasy before I go back and finish off the First Law trilogy. So I'm going to dive into Sun Eater, start book 1. This is going to be tough for me to read. I think I haven't read a sci-fi since Red Rising. I think it might be a smart person's book, with the way I've heard that he's really good at his prose and stuff. So I'm definitely here to check it out. So all I know is I'm getting sci-fi, I'm getting fantasy vibes, and sounds great. Then, as I mentioned before, I'll be continuing on with Empire of the Damned by Jay Kristoff, book 2 of his Empire of the Vampire series. And I'm thinking it's going to be one of my favorite series of all time. I'm here for it, so excited for it. I'm going to do it on audio. Also on audio, I'm going to be reading Child for the Night Guild by Andy Peliquin. Short, grimdark fantasy. I've talked to Andy, and this book sounds like it's something I've loved. I've listened to the first few chapters, and it's just following this young girl who, it sounds like she has been used by her father to pay his debts. And she's now part of this guild that seem to be thieves. So she looks like she's going to be having a harsh upbringing with some really bad people teaching her some very interesting skills. So I'm super invested in this story. Can't wait to see where it goes. And if I get any more chances to read this month, physical read wise, I think I'll go to The Last Argument of Kings and finish off the First Law trilogy. And if I have any more room for audiobooks, I'll continue that Wheel of Time journey, and I'll go to book 7 there. Now, that is everything I have read in the month of February, bought in the month of February, and plan to read in the month of March. Please tell me what book purchases you've made, what books you've read, what books you're going to read. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you've made it this far, you might as well just subscribe to the channel. You might as well leave a comment. You might as well like the video. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you. Let's get some conversations going down in the comments about these books. Have a great day.